As you start the video today, don't forget you need to make sure you watch all the way up to the last question, and then make sure that that's what you know that's what gets you your credit. Today's brief video discusses two things. The first thing we're going to talk about is Chapter 4.1, which is really what we're here for since we did Chapters 1 through 3 last semester. 4.1 requires us to identify something called rate of change, and the rate of change of a line is easy to identify in terms of what we're looking for today. The following rates are positive, so you might have a line. Again, you don't need to write this, but just make sure you're watching, make sure you're mentally active and paying attention to what's going on. So that would be the grid, and this would be a positive rate of change here. Same thing, if that's the grid, this is also a positive rate of change, and if you're looking at something like this, this would also be a positive rate of change. The reason you know these are positive rates of change is because if I was to sign my name on this line, it would go in the upward direction. All of them would. Or if you imagine walking from this side of the grid and you're going that way, you'd be walking up a hill as you go. So again, all three of those represent positive rates of change, or what we call increasing rates of change. Each of these next ones I'm going to draw are all negative. Again, if this is the grid, this would be a negative rate of change. If this was the grid, this would be a negative rate of change. Same thing, if this was your grid, it would be I'm trying to find something in the middle, more sharp, a negative rate of change. Because again, if you look at these lines, drawing my name on this line, it would go in a downward direction. So the easiest way to tell positive or negative is to imagine writing a sentence on it, because you write in the proper direction, which means that if this would go in a downward direction, it makes it negative or decreasing rate of change. A line with no rate of change, which I'll slide this over here, does not rise and does not fall. It looks like the following picture I'm about to draw. Again, if this is your grid, your line simply goes that way. Now, I know that I'm a human being, which means I can't draw it perfectly flat, but I need you to imagine that this line is going straight across, because it is not going up, it is not going down, it just pretty much stays right where it is. Alright? So in terms of positive and negative change, we're expected to identify also the general speed. Again, you don't need to tell me how fast it's going, but you do need to be able to tell us if it's a slow rate of change or a fast rate of change. This is also easy to do with a little bit of common sense. So if you look at the following pairs of lines that I have here, again, I'm going to look at increasing lines. So here's my grid, and here's my positive rate of change. Here's my second grid. Here's my positive rate of change. So looking at these two things here, one of these is slow, one of these is fast. And the easiest way to think about it is this. A fast rate of change would be hard to walk on. So if you were walking on this hill, or you were walking on this hill, which one would be harder to walk on? And of course it would be this one. So this would be your fast rate of change, and this would be your slow rate of change. You can also think of it as, it takes me longer to get up than it does here. If I was walking on this hill, I would increase at a slow rate. This would take me forever to get to the top of the Empire State Building, which I don't think I'd ever want to do. This would actually get me there faster, because every step, although it is a difficult step, goes up faster. So again, if it's a more difficult hill to walk on, that would be considered a faster rate of change. Again, same thing with decreasing rates. If you're talking about this rate of change, which is negative, or this rate of change, which is negative, if you're looking at both of these and imagining walking on them. Now again, you are walking down the hill, but I think it is definitely more difficult to walk down this hill, because if you slip at all, you're probably going to tumble all the way down. Whereas with this one, if you slip, you can probably keep your balance because it's not so hard to do. In that case, this would be my fast rate of change, and this would be my slow rate of change. Again, also think about the fact that you are walking, if you're walking this hill, you're going to get to the bottom of it a lot faster than if you're walking down that hill. So again, fast and slow, positive and negative, those are the key four things that you need today on that work, on the first part of the work that you're going to be doing today. So just keep that in mind. And again, remember that, as my light goes out, remember that you need to make sure that you're asking for help if you need it. Alright, the last part of our day is going to look at the next step of the solving practice, two-step equations. With the two-step equations, you need to make sure that you understand how the problem is going to be set up. It is going to still have the boxes there for you, but these boxes look a little bit different than what you're used to. In this case, you're going to have a box here and a box here. in that box is because you are supposed to, first off, if you remember, move the number that is not attached to k. Because if you remember that since k is attached to 13, that we are going to move this positive 17. Remember, the way we move that positive 17 is by subtracting 17. So that's going to be the first thing you put in that box, is that you are subtracting 17. Your box below that is where you will bring down your 13k, because that's what's left over after these two things cancel out. And this is why we had to do our calculator work, because you have to be able to do negative 74 minus 17, or however you would do it, to get the answer of negative 91. From there, there's one more box where it will say k equals, and again you will just simply divide that by 13, getting the answer of negative 7. So again, looking at what's going on with that, that is where we are going. Your first box is where you move the number. Your next two boxes, which again will be here and here, is where you bring down your 13k, you bring down the sum, and the last thing is where you put your answer. On B, again, if this is what we're looking at, you have 9 attached to n, you have a negative 19 attached here. I'm not going to write the boxes anymore, but these numbers that I'm writing is what you're going to put in those boxes. So if you want to write this down for yourself so you're ready, that's fine. But again, you don't need to, because again, this is stuff that you should have already done. But again, just go ahead and do whatever you feel is necessary so you can get it right. But again, once you add 19 to both sides, we now have to do 35 plus 19, which is 54, equals 9n. And then of course you would divide both sides by 9. Again, I don't need you to show that, and it would just be 6 equals n. C, the very next one, 16c minus 18 equals 158. Again, the first thing you want to do is move by putting plus 18, because 16 is what's attached to c. 18 is a number that's not attached to c. It's the furthest from it. Remember, we don't look at the other side. Again, you'll bring down your 16c. You will then bring down whatever 158 plus 18 is, which is 176. You'll then divide both sides by 16, getting c equals 11. Again, for this point right now, I have the letter at the bottom, so you don't really need to worry about that part. Again, your box will be here, it will be here, it will be here, here, and here. So you kind of understand what's going on with that. And again, when you get stuck on that, if you get stuck on that and you're trying to actually figure it out, make sure you ask so that I can try to help you out. And the last one, again, 15a. 15 is attached to a, 11 is not, so we're going to subtract 11 here and subtract 11 here. You're going to end up with negative 90. Again, if you type this in, you could do negative 79 minus 11 and get the answer. You could even do negative 79 plus negative 11. As long as you use one of those two ways, it will get you what you need. 15a comes down. You'll then divide by 15, getting negative 6 for the answer of A. And just to prove it, there you go. So other than that, like I said, go ahead and go over to MathXL, log in using the SSHS stuff. Make sure again you work to finish it. I did have some people for some reason yesterday who decided not to log in. They now have an F in the class, and this stuff can't be made up. So please make sure that if you are present and if you're supposed to log into your MathXL to do the work, because not doing the work will pull your grade down. So other than that, go ahead and go to the MathXL and get started. Good luck.